Welcome to Driving the Lane with Randy Kraayenbrink and Chuck Rowe, a podcast presented by News Talk 1540 KXEL. Now, Driving the Lane.
Welcome to Driving the Lane with Randy Kraayenbrink and Chuck Rowe, the show where we talk about mostly one thing and one thing only, and that is
Panther basketball.
Now it's important that we remind you that even though we are the official UNI basketball show for News Talk 1540 KXEL, our comments may not reflect the feelings of our friends at UNI. However, Randy is a former player and I have a UNI watch. So this show is as official as it's going to get. We also want to let you know that portions of this show can't be heard on KXEL, with the entire show found on their website. Now, Randy is driving right now and he's playing it very safe. So he kind of has just the audio going right now. Good for you, Randy.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. You know, I try to be responsible when I'm driving down the road.
Safety first, right. So
There you go.
now, Randy, UNI has been on a nice little winning streak right now. Just curious, what have you seen different in the Panthers recently, opposed to maybe the beginning of the season?
You know, I'm not superstitious, but we don't talk about, wins and losses very often on here, but we are on a roll, and we need to point that out. I think the big thing is, and I think we talked about this earlier, maybe 3 or 4 shows ago, was, we just weren't playing Panther defense. And I think we're starting to gel together on the defensive side much better than we have, those previous losses that we had. And maybe that trip to Hawaii helped us. Maybe had some extra practice time over there, got away a little bit. But the defense right now is coming along great, and I think that's what's going to end up winning us some games. And it doesn't hurt when we score 80 points a game, because that's pretty easy to win when we score 80 points.
Well, the hoop does seem to look a lot bigger the past couple games, that's for sure. And I love what you said about the defense, because I think both me and you, we would see maybe the opposing team getting to the hoop a little easier than you usually would see for a UNI defense, right?
Right, exactly. And I think Coach Jake has pounded that into the kids, in order for us to win some games. We do have to make some stops on the defensive end. The kids have come through and they're doing it.
Well, is there anything in particular you want to keep seeing from the Panthers as they continue on?
Just get better every game, right? I mean, just trying to improve on what they're trying to instill in the players. Like we said, the Coach Jake system will work as long as everybody buys in and plays it. And just keep buying in and practicing hard.
Well, as always, we have a great show for everyone this week. There's only one time in history in which a UNI team went to March Madness 3 years in a row, and that started in 2003 to 2004. So we have some members from that squad joining us. After that, we have our Midwest Studies Group Nonprofit of the Week. And as always, we finish off with our Financial Architects Quote of the Week. Let's get started. Randy, today we're honored to have joining us. Drum roll, please. He's driving right now, so maybe the drum roll doesn't work as well as he usually does.
Chuck, you're going to have to delete that now.
Who knows? It's safe. You're safe. Don't worry. So
yeah.
We have former players from the 2003-2004 squad. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. Great to be here, Chuck.
Now, usually we give an introduction for each person that's joining us. Today, we have a number of guests. So what I'm going to do is maybe give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. Tell us the years that you played at UNI and what you're doing these days.
I'll go first. Chris Foster. I played 2000 to 05. And I'm currently coaching. I'm the head coach at Drury University in Southwest Missouri.
I'll jump in next. I'm Jon Godfread. I was 01 to 05, and currently I am the North Dakota Insurance Commissioner up here in the great state of North Dakota.
Pete Schmit played 2001 through 2005. Currently working at Galliard Capital Management, investment management firm here based out of the Twin Cities in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And last but not least, David Gruber, played from 01 to 04 with these knuckleheads. And now I'm doing financial planning, wealth management for World Trend Financial.
Now, each of you took different paths to UNI. Some began your journey as a Panther, others transferred to UNI. What was the recruitment process for each of you? What made you decide to finally pick the Panthers?
I was actually recruited there by Sam Weaver So I guess I'm the longest tenured of the guys on here. But Coach Weaver had played junior college basketball with my dad and kind of grew up in the same part of the country I did. So there was just a comfort level there with him. And then also Ron Smith, who was on the staff for a long time there when I was coming out of high school.
For me, this is John. I was out of high school. I went to the University of Utah, played there for a year, redshirted, got injured, got a concussion, and then and wanted to be a little closer to home. So Northern Iowa was about 8 hours away from my hometown of Grand Forks, and I knew Coach McDermott and Coach Jacobson really well. They spend a lot of time in North Dakota, and Coach Jacobson is from North Dakota, so he's good family friends of ours. And so looking at transferring, it made a lot of sense when they got the job, and went in there, was able to try to pick up the pieces that Foster broke and try to make it a little better.
I mean, I thought you were going to say you came because of how great we made your visit, but I guess
not. Foster, that's maybe it's a good time for me to chime in. This is Pete. Yes, took a similar path as John. Ended up walking on at the University of Wisconsin my freshman year. Head coach Dick Bennett was the head coach. He retired a couple games into the season. The assistant coach Brad Soderberg took over, and then Dick Bennett's son Tony Bennett was on the coaching staff as well at that point. At the end of the season, when they went to move in a different direction in terms of a new head coach, wanted to pursue other options. So Tony Bennett helped me reach out to a few firms, including Northern Iowa, and was fortunate to walk on, land in a great position with, and meet some lifelong friends here at a great program here in Cedar Falls. So that was my path to UNI.
So I'll finish up. This is Dave. So I went the junior college route, went to a small high school in Solon, Iowa, played a year at Kirkwood in Cedar Rapids. And then with the coaching staff change, it really wasn't on UNI's radar. And then with the coaching staff change, Coach Mack and Coach Jake reached out and said, can you come up right away? We're interested. And came up, loved it, and signed on to be a Panther for the next 3 years.
Obviously, the past players we've had on, every one of them is able to brag about their city league or something they're playing in right now. So, Coach Foster, obviously, are you showing the kids how to play the game yet on the floor? And then the other ones maybe chime in on the city league you're in, and maybe how many points you're averaging per game, like your past predecessors have told us about.
I'm retired officially. I'm almost 40 now. I tried to get out and play probably about 3 or 4 years ago. Ended up with another knee surgery in my mid 30s, and I kind of thought at that point it was time to hang it up. So now I just tell everybody how good I was, and I don't ever have to prove it, which actually works out better for me anyway.
Was it you or was it Kylie that made you quit?
I think you know the answer to
that. Well, I still play in a city league, and it's nice to actually be able to shoot threes and not play defense and kind of do the opposite of what I was made to do backing up Gruber all those years. But no, it's still a lot of fun to get out and play, and it's I usually play, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a week at noon ball and things like that. So still, it's a nice way to work out. That's not, not on a treadmill or not stuck in a weight room. So it's still a lot of fun. And the nice thing is too, is I'm up here in North Dakota, and people know about Northern Iowa, but back in our day, the internet wasn't quite as popular. And so there isn't a lot of video. So I can like Chris, I can make up how great I was. And it's really hard to find that proof.
Well, my problem, I'll chime in, is Dave. My problem now is I go to play pickup games and I want to go inside and no one will throw it to me. So, so I don't play much anymore. The knees aren't working as well as they used to, but coaching kids, so I get my fill that way.
This is Pete, and I still play 2 to 3 times a week. 5:30s at Plymouth, Lifetime. Go battle in there with some age ranges ranging from about 20 years old to about 65. So I pick my team strategically, so we can stay on the court a time or two. But similar thought to Foster there. Now I'm pushing 40. Our men's league team that I play with in St. Louis Park, we're we're on the older end of the spectrum now, and those wins aren't coming as often anymore. So, and as such, those points per game continue to drop as well too. So when I want to score a lot of points, I play against my 9-year-old son and take him to the hoop.
Oh, you know your stat line from the summer league game. What are we averaging?
Well, we got to go. It depends on who's keeping stats, because as I play the inflation as I'm playing, I'm like, did I just score that basket? I think I hit that three, right? And but when I go back to the videotape, I'm sure that doesn't add up as it plays out in my head.
Well, when you're about 12 years old to about 25 years old, and you play with the old guys, you would always laugh at them because they're stretching and they're warming up a little bit before they play. Are you now those official old guys that before games, you're kind of like stretching your arms out a little bit? And
oh yeah, absolutely.
It takes a good half to get warmed up
in the morning.
And that's attributable to Don Bishop back in the day. We didn't do it as much back then, but now it's a requirement.
do you guys ever come back to visit UNI and visit with Don Bishop, Coach Jake, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, I think we get back for the golf tournament and things like that. And there's an annual summer golf tournament, and trying to make it down for an alumni game here and there. But COVID has kind of screwed up some of that stuff, at least for me. And but yeah, I think there's I like to get back as much as I can, and that's my kids are at an age now where I can bring them with me and we can go to some games and things like that. So that's always fun. And we try to coordinate, I think, between the group of us and say, okay, we're all going to be here at this game. Let's try to make it. So I think we try to stay in touch as best we can, and that's attributable to the I think to the relationship we all had. I mean, we had a really tight group for about 4 years, and I'll say 2005 was the best year because that's when Gruber wasn't there. But we had a really tight group.
Yeah, I'm fortunate. I have a family in Cedar Falls, so get back on a pretty regular basis around the holidays and visiting family and the like. Father-in-law played basketball. John Martin played for UNI Panthers, and a nephew that's currently redshirting on the team as well too. So following closely and get back on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah, and the nice thing about all that is the Panther network, of guys we played with and even guys after us, and the coaching staff have always been a real welcoming, and there's always seems like there's an ex-player somewhere close by that you grab dinner with, or just have a conversation about how the Panthers are doing. So it's fun to see their success, and then obviously have Panther Nation growing wherever we're at.
Well, during previous seasons, you guys were really struggling as a team. What clicked in 2003 that finally led you to like a complete turnaround and the first of many postseason successes?
They finally started listening to me. Honestly, I think it was, Coach McDermott and Coach Jacobson, those guys did a great job of finding the right guys that kind of fit our program and our culture. And, I think anytime you're trying to turn a program around, you got to be able to withstand some losing, and you need the right kind of guys to do that. And so we were able to kind of keep a core group of guys together for a few years, and every year sprinkling a few more guys that could really help us. And, because of kind of that continuity and getting some guys experience, it really paid off for us.
It was something that I don't think it came quick, right? And, like Chris said, we had lost quite a bit, and bringing in some new guys and meshing with the team. And, Coach Mack and Coach Jake were always about do the right thing day after day, and eventually success will come, and showed that hard work throughout the season. And, going back to that season, we were 11-8, midway through the season, and ran off here, 7 of the last 8 of the regular season, headed into the tournament on a roll, and won 3 more games there to clinch that automatic berth. So it was kind of, I think, continuing to do the right thing throughout the seasons, and starting to click, for whatever reason towards the end of the season there.
Dave and Pete, maybe you could walk us through what was the team doing during Selection Sunday, and what do you remember from that evening?
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, sure. So, this kind of led up to, the team was having a great year leading up to Selection Sunday. We went over to the UNI, I forget the name, the Student Center over there, and had a nice little celebration, knowing that we qualified via the conference tournament championship, an automatic berth in the NCAA tournament. So it was a great atmosphere. First tournament berth since the 90s, since 1990. So had a great contingency, fans, coaches, cheerleaders, band, kind of had the whole atmosphere there. Excited about having the UNI Panthers name scroll up on the screen there on CBS. So we were just sitting there tight, wondering where we were going to play, who we were going to play against, what our seed was going to be. And I don't think at that point we really cared if we were the 16th seed or the A seed. I think we kind of knew we were going to be more towards the 16th seed, but we were just excited to be there in that student center with such a great fan base, such great support. And it was, just a great time.
Yeah, I look back, just to add on to that. This is Dave again. From the conference tournament, which, we end up winning, obviously. So as Pete said, we knew we had an automatic berth. It's kind of a blur because you're just so excited, but you've never been there. You've seen it on TV. You've seen other teams go through it. It just goes so fast. You try and savor every moment. But yeah, when you see your name, on the board on CBS or whatever it was against, I think it was Georgia Tech, right, boys? And then figured, well, I'm guessing they're going to know a lot more about us, or we're going to know a lot more about them than they know about us. So that kind of helped, but you're just so excited. You didn't really care who you played. A little bit of work to do, but it was just so exciting to be a part of it. Like everybody came out with such great support. So it was a lot of fun.
As what was mentioned, this is the first time that you guys made March Madness in years. Jon, what do you remember the team feeling when you walked through that arena and you saw the crowd at March Madness?
Well, I mean, it's as David said, it's something you watch as a kid growing up. I mean, I had the March Madness board. I got it for Christmas one year where you could fill out the brackets and on a dry erase board and all that stuff. So it's kind of a dream come true, right? I mean, it's what you hope for, and it's certainly probably the biggest arena we played in. And it was just a surreal experience to get to go through that and walk through that and do that. And that season was a really special season. Again, we were kind of middle of the pack, middle of the road for most of the season, and we kind of took off at the end, and we had to win the tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. I mean, we weren't going to get an at-large bid. We weren't going to do anything like that. We put together a nice string of wins to kind of accomplish our goal, and we just kept kind of building on it. So it was a really, really fun time. As it was the first tournament in the 90s, it was the first tournament for everybody. I think that my favorite memory is during the shoot around the day before, we went through basically a full-fledged practice. And we were running, we were going hard. And I still remember, I think we all were walking past a janitor who was sweeping the court or taking care of the arena. And he walks by us and said, I've never seen a team shoot around like that. Never seen anybody do it. And it's like, oh, that's a good or a bad thing. I mean, Coach Mack put us through our paces.
We've never done it before.
We never, so it was new for everybody, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, we went hard during shoot around. I remember that very, very, very explicitly.
Now, Chris, you being a coach, you've given a locker room speech once or twice in your life, I would guess. So that first round, you lost a really close game to Georgia Tech. To the best of your memory, what was the pre and post game speeches from Coach Mack like?
I think the biggest thing, and we probably talked about it leading into the game and then certainly afterwards, it just, like the guys have said, going from kind of middle of the pack and finishing the year strong and getting to the NCAA tournament for the first time in a long time. I think it just kind of gave everybody confidence, gave everybody belief in what we were doing, and certainly something that we built on as you look at the success the next year in 2005 and obviously what they've been able to do since then. So it was kind of a real turning point for the program. I think just getting to that level and understanding what it takes and really getting a lot of buy-in from the players in the program that what we're doing is working. We just got to kind of stick with it and keep believing in what we're doing so we can get back.
Andy, you were part of those squads that first came to play in the Valley. So playing in March Madness didn't feel quite as tangible for you, let's say. But as a Panther, what is it like for you to see these guys getting the chance to play in March Madness for some of them for 3 years straight?
Oh, I mean, I tell you what, I mean, it kind of rejuvenated, right, the Panther program, and these guys were part of it. And, for the Cedar Valley, for you and I, and like Coach Mack and Coach Jake, I mean, these guys were out in the community, and everybody got to see them, which was kind of cool. I mean, they were like idols, right? I mean, we kind of worship these guys, and then they make the tournament. And it's really kind of cool, and just rejuvenated the Panther basketball, and it was great, and it's good to see them, where they're at today. And I think that might be my leading question for, obviously some of you are married and maybe have children, kind of talk about what you're taking forward from what Coach Jake or Coach Mack told you guys or taught you guys. I mean, how's that working in your life today? And I think people like to hear about that.
Okay, I'll start. This is Dave. So I look back, and we've kind of touched on, obviously, the transition of the program and things. I look back to some of the adversity that we went through, kind of my junior year, kind of 2002. When Coach Mack came around in 2001, it was kind of exciting. It was a new team. Everybody came in. We had some success. And then the next year it was tough. We were under 500, didn't really achieve the goals we wanted. And then to get that momentum at the end of that 2004 season was really kind of the culmination. For me, it was my senior year. These guys played on, but so that kind of life lesson of going through the adversity and then sticking with it, not quitting. If my own kids can go through something like that, where they're working through something, nothing's given to you. You got to earn it. I just felt like we went out and we earned it. It was not easy. I look at that year before we had the success, and that was the hard time. That was the grind. We all remember moments that year where and we could have thrown the towel, but we stuck with it. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just playing through the pain and sticking with it. And then if you can, good things can happen.
I think the biggest takeaway that I've got is, we were never going to be the most athletic team. And with Foster and Schmit on our team, we were obviously never going to be the best shooting team either. But we were always we were always the most prepared. And so it's always about doing the little things. I think we could always go into a game knowing that we probably knew the other team's game plan or their offense probably better than most of their players did. And so it's that preparation and making sure you're doing the little things and continue to work on that. I mean, that's one thing that I think I've always taken away, is that preparation and dedication can overcome a lot of other pieces. And so it's staying with it, similar to what Gruber said, where it's working hard and staying with it. But I think the one thing that Coach Mack and Coach Jake have really instilled in the program is always being ready for that next game, that next team, and knowing what it is. Maybe outside of a game here and there. I mean, I think Wichita State is one of the games we probably weren't ready for, but most of the time we were always put in a position to be successful. We always had a chance, and I think that's a really important lesson to take on to life, that you're always going to have a chance, and so as long as you take advantage of those opportunities, you can do some pretty impressive things. And so a little school from Northern Iowa can go on and do some pretty big things. I mean, you think back to the teams that have gone on after us. I mean, the 2010 team obviously comes to mind, and it's really put the school on the map.
For me, this is Pete. Maybe one of my biggest takeaways and advice received from Coach Mack, Coach Jake. It actually came off the court. Had to do something with not basketball related, but a young lady I was dating at the time. He had told me, "Don't screw this up. You are out kicking your coverage. Don't screw it up, Pete." And that young lady is now my wife now. So I always adhered to that advice. I was fortunate for that advice that coach instilled. But just echoing John's thoughts, it was really the attention to detail. It was coming out of high school, coming out of college, we always thought I always thought I was working hard, but they would push you to that next level. Like you can do better. You can keep moving. You can keep working. And then being prepared, the attention to detail, whether that's film planning, whether that's game planning, whether it's kind of working on the scout team and getting the starters ready. All those various things that play into making the difference between winning and losing plays throughout a game. They continue to instill that, and that comes now even after post playing and post career at UNI, working as part of a presentation, as part of a team, trying to be successful, putting together pitches and working with clients. It's all that attention to detail. It's working as a team. You don't care who gets the credit. It's the name on the front, not the name on the back. Has always been something that I've taken with me from my days at UNI, and something that Coach Mack and Coach Jake really instilled into us during those years.
Maybe starting with Chris, because you get to see this day to day being a coach yourself, and then the others, I would love to hear your response. But today players see things like Bluetooth headphones, shooting gun machines, nice padded locker room chairs, etc. If you guys could be grumpy old men for a second, how would you finish this sentence? Back in my day, we didn't have blank.
Oh man. We didn't have much. We didn't have charter flights, I tell you that. And that's, again, being a coach, I think that's something hopefully we all look back on and we're really proud of is, I was inherited by Coach McDermott with the coaching change and was already there. And obviously these guys came in shortly after that, but it was a time where, UNI basketball couldn't sell success necessarily. We didn't have the best facilities. We'd go play Iowa in the Dome and then, hit the showers with some old guys that just got done playing racquetball over in the rec. And, so it was more of kind of selling a vision for the success of the program and what we wanted the program to look like. And that's probably something that I'm the most proud of in my playing career and my coaching career to this point, is just where the program was at when we got there, what we were able to accomplish. And then you look at what's happened since then with the McLeod Center and the support and the continued success. And so knowing that we were all a small part in kind of doing it when it wasn't cool, doing it when there hadn't been a lot of success prior to us, is a really special thing.
Pete, you said you had family members on the team now. What do they have that you didn't have when you were playing?
That's a great question, Chuck. He comes, whenever I see him, he is decked out in UNI gear from head to toe. I think we got hand us down sweatpants that were probably about 5 to 10 years old, getting a new pair of shoes, despite, kind of the sole starting to come off. It was always you had to kind of go in and negotiate to get some more gear. So I think it's just the difference. It's just the nature and evolution of the program. And just generally speaking, you see on TV kind of the team rooms that, are fitted for various universities and teams now. And everything has just gotten elevated in terms of access, products, kind of the whole system. So, looking back
in the locker room.
maybe
the carbonated sports drink. That's what we had after practice. I think it was expired too, actually.
Got a good deal on it. And we ate at Old Country Buffet and all the other buffets. I still remember we drive 35 minutes out of our way to get to an Old Country Buffet, and we didn't really have the training table like I'm sure they have now and all that stuff. So it was definitely a different time.
So Dave, something I wanted to ask you is that, you being the senior on this squad here, what was it like to have Ben Jacobson, the player, on the team, and what made him so special?
So Benny was just a special player when he came in. I think he really matured, obviously, when he was at UNI. He was the type of guy who was just so competitive. He always gave you a great chance. And man, my senior year, that Missouri Valley tournament just stands out. Just a guy who is just unbelievably confident in his abilities and will go out there and deliver. And, you know that when you need a bucket, you know, in some tough situations, you know, he's going to step up and he's going to do his absolute best. And, you know, sometimes that ball rolls in and rolls out, but man, you know, I like I said, I think back to that MVC tournament, we win in double overtime against not Southern Illinois, SMS or Missouri State. And in those overtimes, he was absolutely awesome. So, you know, just ice in his veins, just super confident, put his hard hat on and went to work. So he was just an awesome guy to play with.
Well, here's a quote from a younger teammate, Jon Little. He hoped he could be on here today. He wasn't able to make it. But a quote he said was, I owe a lot to these guys. I really learned tons from these fellas. They taught me about what hard work and leadership look like. Now, as juniors and senior leaders that were on that 2003 to 2014, what does that quote mean to you guys?
Well, I'll jump in again, being the older one. So, I think we got to give credit to Schneid's too. So Matt Schneiderman was a senior, and he had a great ability to communicate his message in a way that, held people accountable without being, overly critical in a way that you guys bash heads off the court. We all got along really well off the floor, but we did hold each other accountable. So being an older guy, Jon Little was great to play with. I mean, I think you look back at the guys we played with, just on a side note, and there's so many coaches and players, and we had a high basketball IQ. But I think everybody bought in, and just hearing those types of things just, kind of reinforces that we did do it right, and we didn't always know we were doing it right at the time. But it does mean a lot. It does mean a lot.
I think for myself, maybe just a quick thought is, I even thought, Foster, Gruber, Schneiderman, Godfread, I looked up to them as leaders too. Just the way they approached, came to practice day to day, worked hard, worked their tails off. You don't want to be that person on the team that is pulling everybody or keeping everyone back. So, just seeing their approach each and every day, like David said, working with a guy like Jon Little, who brought his lunch pail to practice every day, worked his tail off as well too. I just think created a good mix of a team, and something that I think that's why we're still also close today, and appreciate the efforts that everyone put into the process, as part of getting us to where we ended up getting to.
Yeah, and just to build on that a little bit, I don't think it wasn't one person, right? I mean, it was Jon Little would pick all of us up some days at practice too, and so as much as we were leaders to them, they were leaders to we had a really unique team where it was everybody bought in and we were all moving in the same direction. And so, if you're having a tough day or having a hard time understanding your role in the team, it was, somebody else would pick you up. And so it was, Gruber and Scheiderman were seniors and we were juniors and they were sophomores, but as we evolved in that season, especially it was, we were all pushing together. And so it was a really good cohesive team that made it possible. And I think that's what, overcomes some of our, our lack of size or lack of talent or lack of athleticism. And we're able to do that by just being a tight team.
What is the best prank or funny story that you couldn't share then in public that you could bring up now?
Well, me and Pete and John were roommates. So we tended to kind of move every year. And I remember I forget which, we were living in a house, and we would sometimes argue about the dishes and whose turn it was. And there was even rumors of maybe some people like hoarding dishes in the room and waiting until it was somebody else's turn and then going and putting them all in the sink. And I vaguely remember a time where we might have took all the dishes out of the sink and put them in Big John's bed while he was gone.
That may have happened. That may have happened. I remember a time when we we, like Chris said, we all moved together and we generally found a good deal every year, it seemed like, or we got kicked out. I don't remember. But I do remember moving Pete out into our entryway of our new apartment one time, and moving his room out into basically the lobby area outside of our room for when he came home. And got to realize he was still part of us, but he was just outside the door. At that point, Pete, I think your life was down to about 2 or 3 Rubbermaid bins, it felt like. So it was pretty easy to move your stuff.
Yeah. I was going to say, I probably didn't have much to move out
and
of
a
that
futon.
room.
Any memorable stories or anything you'd want to bring up about maybe Coach McDermott or Coach Jacobson, kind of to piggyback off of the question Chuck just asked there?
There's a lot of those, Coach McDermott, those first couple of years wasn't always the funnest guy to be around, as we were trying, especially if you were a point guard. He's a big guy, so he kind of catered to these other big guys. So they probably have a different perspective. But I do remember, I forget it was a swing trip, maybe Wichita and then Missouri State. And we struggled, it was kind of still in this process where we were trying to get things figured out, and got beat pretty bad at Wichita, and then came into Missouri State and got beat again. And I think it was Schneiderman. Kind of had a rough shooting weekend, and Mac came in. He may have kicked a trash can, or might have been a cardboard box that was used as a trash can. I think it landed. Whose head did it? I think it landed on somebody's head. But it was kind of one of those where, we were all disappointed that we lost, and then that kind of happened randomly. And, there was a few instances where Mac would be getting on us, and as he was doing it, we were all kind of biting our tongues, trying not to laugh. But that one sticks out with Schneids at Missouri State for sure.
One for me with Coach Mack was a similar type scenario. We're at practice, and he's pushing us, and maybe we weren't exuding our best efforts or whatnot, and we're on the end line running, and he's getting after us pretty good, and he finds a basketball. It kind of rolled to his feet, and he picked it up and bounced it and tried to throw it at the wall, and it kind of just trickled off the side of his hand and kind of just lobbed out, and we're all sitting there just giggling on the sidelines while he's chewing our ass, just because of the ineptness of the basketball toss of just kind of floating off the side of his hand there, which it kind of definitely lightened the mood at the moment, but didn't make him any less happy either.
One of my favorite Mac stories is that first year we were there, myself and Pete and Matt Schneiderman, we were all redshirted because we were transfers in, and so we'd play the gray team. We'd be the practice squad essentially. And there are days when we would just give it to the starters.
Whoa.
And David and Chris and David were there, and Pete, you remember.
That's not how I remember it.
Between Pete and Matt and myself, we would sometimes, get a little arrogant and mention that things. And we started talking to Coach Mack about it and his starters. And I don't think, and so Schneiderman's 6'9", 6'8", or whatever, pretty big guy. I'm 6'10", 6'11-ish. And after practice one day, we were giving him some crap about how we ran his starters out of the gym, and it reminded us that he's the head coach, and it was all in good fun, but it certainly was a memorable moment.
Well, one of my fondest Coach Mack memories is just, I think every year it was down in Missouri State, because that was usually the lowest rim in the conference. There was one shooter, and the springiest floor, and there was one shoot around that he would always try and prove that he could still dunk. So after shoot around was over, it was like watching a giraffe, like a baby giraffe, trying to still get up there over the rim and throw it down. And I don't know I think his fingers might have touched the rim and the ball went through, but that's about all I remember. Coach Mack trying to throw it down, but he was always very, very proud that he could still dunk. He thought so.
Well, last question for you guys. If each of you could finish this sentence, the thing I want to be remembered most for as a Panther is blank.
I would say just being a good teammate. I think that's something that we really emphasize, and I think our success was based a lot on our relationships within the team, and guys willing to kind of sacrifice part of themselves for the greater good and that stuff. And I think that's something, obviously being in coaching now, that gets harder and harder and harder to get kids to kind of buy into that concept. And I think that was something that we really did, and something that's not easy. So I would say for me, that would be it.
I know loyalty is a tagline that they use quite a bit, or that you and I use quite a bit, but I think that speaks to what I'd like to be remembered as, and is, there are a lot of ups and downs in all of our careers. I mean, we all face different adversity, but we remained loyal to the program, loyal to the team. And again, kind of what Coach Foster was saying is that I don't know if you see that as much anymore, especially at bigger programs and things like that. And now you got the transfer portal stuff that's coming in. And so I think, being remembered as for loyalty and sticking with the team, even through adversity, it pays off in the end, but it's not an always easy process to get there. So that's something I hope that not only I'm remembered for, but I hope our whole class is remembered for.
Well, I'll echo both those. I think those are awesome. I just think that collectively, I just thought we competed so well. We didn't on paper always match up with everybody, but we were just competitors. We just kept working towards it. So I just feel like that's kind of a trait when the chips are down and your back's against the wall. You may not have all the answers. You may not know how you're going to get through it, but you just compete, you just grind, you find a way. And I felt like we just grinded through a lot of stuff, and eventually we found a way. And I'm pretty proud of that. So that'd be mine.
I'd echo the same. It's all about the qualities of the individuals on the team and the teammates, and beyond just basketball, it's what great character and great people that each of these guys are, and each of the members of the team was in those days. And even watching a few of these over time, Chuck, too, it's just throughout the program, even years after, the personality, the type of recruits, the program that Coach Matt, Coach Jake have built here at UNI. It's just something to be proud to be a part of. So much relatable to all those other guys that are on the team, whether that's years that played before us or years that are after us. A lot of the same characteristics, same quality traits. Just proud to be a part of that.
All right. Hey, guys, thanks for joining us on Driving the Lane. We appreciate it. Once again, Chuck, we found 4 great ex-UNI Panthers to talk to, and we wish them the best of luck and in life, and have a great 2022.
As everyone knows, Randy and I have a big heart for our community nonprofits. It's time for the Midwest Studies Group Nonprofit of the Week. Today, we have Kristle Davis from Caden's Kloset joining us. Thanks for joining us, Kristle.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
So maybe you could tell us, what does Caden's Kloset do?
Well, Caden's Kloset is a resource that provides physical and tangible needs for children in need, with a focus on foster and adoptive families.
So, Kristle, tell us a little bit more about so you do the foster care and adopted. So do you work with foster parents, or do you work mainly with the adoptive, or both sides of that?
That's a really great question. And actually, we work with every type of family involved in caring for children. So sometimes we come in and work with the biological families. If the problem is poverty, we are able to come in and provide bedroom furniture and bedding and clothing and toiletries and those types of necessities. And sometimes that's the brink between a child going into foster care or being able to stay at home with their family. And then on the other side of it, we work with foster families. A lot of times foster families are getting children without much notice. So we're able to make sure they have everything they need to care for any child that gets put into their home. And then we do ongoing work with adoptive families. So as we all know, being parents, the work doesn't end after the child's placed in your home. They continue to grow and they continue to change. And so we are a resource that is there to meet those ongoing needs as children grow up. And so once we partner with a family, we're partnered with them through the entirety of them caring for whatever children are in their home.
Now, when you think of the clientele that you serve with the foster and adopted families, what got you into that target group?
Well, part of our story is that I was adopted out of foster care as a teenager. And when I went into foster care, I actually only had the clothes on my back. So I know exactly what it's like to go into a foster home with nothing, with literally nothing except the clothes on your back. So that definitely planted a seed in my heart. But then later in life, my husband and I became foster parents, and kind of saw this reoccurring theme that child after child that would come into our home, even if they came with some stuff, there's just always more needs. I mean, Chuck, you have two small boys, you know how it is. You wake up one morning and go to put on the kids' snow boots and you're like, oh, these don't fit anymore. We got to go get new boots. So it's just kind of this reoccurring theme of children always seem to need something. And that kind of sparked this idea of why don't we provide a community resource where we can take people's items that they're no longer using in caring for their children and distribute them or redistribute them to families that can use them.
You know, Kristle, you wouldn't know this, but Randy is actually a former foster parent himself. And so, Randy, what excites you most when you hear about a program like this in the community?
Marla and I were foster parents for, I think, about 20, 25 years. And you hit the nail on the head. Many kids came to us with basically nothing. And to go out and buy brand new stuff or something like that was obviously very expensive. So what a great cause. What a great tool that you guys have set up for this, especially for the foster care system. Congratulations. That's really cool. It's awesome just to hear about it, Chuck. I'm thrilled about that. That's pretty cool.
Well, I know a lot of people would love to hear more. So, Kristle, where could people learn more about what you're doing?
Well, there's a couple different ways. The best resource to find any information you need is going to be our website. And you can find us at www.cadenskloset.com. And that is KADENSKLOSET.com. But we're also on Facebook, isn't everybody? So you could easily find us on Facebook. We have a main Cadence Closet page, but we actually have Cadence Closet locations all over the Midwest. So all over the state of Iowa, Missouri, and Kansas. So you can go to Facebook and you can kind of search a Cadence Closet near you and kind of see what's going on in your community or a community near you. But we do have a main page on Facebook. You can always contact us through there.
Kristle, this is awesome. The Cadence Closet is definitely something that excites me, obviously because of the past. And thanks for joining us, and we appreciate you sharing the information with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm always excited to share about this thing that I'm super, super passionate about. So thanks for having me.
Now's the part of the show that everyone's been looking forward to, the Financial Architect's Quote of the Week.
Quote of the week. The scariest place to be in is the same place as last year. So grow.
Love it. Love it. It's like you can't stay stagnant, right? You got to keep on getting better. Yeah.
Keep moving forward.
So another great quote is, don't use your video on the phone when you're driving. Also.
Never use
your
video on the phone while you're driving.
There you go. So both are great quotes. Good for you, good for me, good for everybody. So it's time to say goodbye from Chuck and Randy. Thanks for joining us. Catch you next week. Enter the closing music.